The impacts of landfill are raising concerns for the future sustainability of the Australian environment, because landfill is having a negative impact on the natural ecosystems that are associated with the area. Research identifies that landfill has been documented to contaminate surrounding water sources, be detrimental to native food supplies, and entice foreign species into the area, which not only act as competition for native species, but also introduce and promote the spread of disease. All these changes to the native environment are witnessed to have consequences for Australian biodiversity. This topic was researched utilising some methods that were new to me, such as Boolean structures. Once becoming familiar with these structures, it soon became apparent the advantage they offer by minimising research time by reducing the number of resources that are presented. The sites that were of most use were the CSIRO and Bureau of Statistics, because I felt confident with data they presented as they are established, reliable sources. By linking my Curtin library account to Google Scholar, search results compiled documents available from both databases. To compile the relevant resources that were returned from searches, Scoopit was implemented. This allowed me to catalogue articles for further reference. It has become apparent that water supplies are greatly impacted by landfill, which leads to implications for Australian biodiversity. Landfill is documented to leach chemicals and toxic substances through the processes of decomposition. These substances then have the potential to pollute local waterways and groundwater, whilst also presenting stagnant pools of contaminated water. This is witnessed to impact on Australian biodiversity, as the contaminated water sources are reported to have health implications for many native species through contact and consumption. Native food sources are impacted by landfill because the ecosystems surrounding landfills are affected to a degree where they are no longer capable of producing or maintaining native food sources. Contamination of soils and water supplies means that local plant species, which are a primary food source for many native animals, are unable to thrive, resulting in a reduction in diversity of native flora and fauna. And the plant species that are able to thrive are often contaminated and lead to contamination and health implications for other species once ingested. Landfills encourage the introduction of foreign species into an area, particularly scavengers, because it provides easy access to food wastage. These introduced species affect Australia's biodiversity because they present competition for both habitat and food sources. Australia's biodiversity is further impacted by foreign species as they are documented to introduce diseases that are noted to result in a reduction in native species populations. When addressing the Australian curriculum's science learning descriptors, it becomes apparent that the issue of how landfill is impacting on Australian biodiversity links to the curriculum because it requires students to demonstrate varying degrees of science understanding depending on their age level between foundation and grade 1. The topic of Australia's biodiversity also interconnects with the curriculum's statements of sustainability, requiring an understanding for the dependence on and interconnections between ecosystems.